Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me begin by thanking Senator Haniri for bringing up issues which will be able to help us bring real solutions to the people of this country. Mr. Speaker, earlier on, the chair of CPIC, who is my very good friend, talked about us politicizing things, saying that the BBI does not look into this matter. And as a matter of fact, when you look at the Constitution, the proposed constitutional amendment bill, Article 3, which is on shared prosperity, talks about the government shall promote sustainable agriculture. Mr. Speaker, sir, when it comes to agriculture, this is the backbone of this economy, of this country called Kenya. Some of the facts which are quite clear, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that the tea industry or the tea sector employs 10% of the total population of this country. Last year alone, Mr. Speaker, sir, the tea sector brought in this country over 200 billion shillings in foreign export. It also brought in about 23 billion shillings in terms of local sales for the tea. So what does that tell you? Mr. Speaker, sir, it talks about the issue that Senator Haniri has brought out clearly, which deals with the issue of the management of the tea sector. When you look at the tea sector, Mr. Speaker, sir, there are two elements. There is the export, which is good for the foreign income of this country, and there is also the local sales. When you look at the Constitution, Madam Speaker, you will also realize that agriculture is devolved, and this Senate has stood firmly to be able to protect devolution. This Senate, last year, Madam Speaker, passed a legislation that encourages warehousing. It's actually called the Warehousing Receipt Bill. So, Madam Speaker, what we ought to be talking about now is how do we ensure that our county governments, which agriculture is devolved, sit down, the CCs in charge of trade or in charge of agriculture, find a way to promote these tea farmers, to help these tea farmers, instead of us actually lamenting. One of the biggest problems that I see, and I thank the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Agriculture, Munya, is that he said, instead of us talking about all these issues, let us find what the problem is. And he pointed out to one particular area. It is the outdated auction system. This auction system is so porous, it allows people to sell their own tea outside the country, such that there's no way you can actually be able to control and be able to tell how much of the tea foreign income we get in this country. Maybe we get more than 211 billion. You know, there's a lot of direct sales. So, Madam Speaker, this House, instead of always passing everything to the national government, what is important is for us to say, agriculture is devolved, and we must now begin. When we focus on legislation, we must begin to ensure that what is devolved is fully devolved so that our farmers can be able to benefit. Madam Speaker, when we talk about government policies, these government policies should trickle down to the people on the ground so that they can be able to understand their impact. When we have serious challenges in this country, Madam Speaker, I worry about that 10% of the Kenyans who are employed by one sector. Maybe there could be more. So, Madam Speaker, we need, and I hope that the committee will take this matter seriously, and Senator Haniri will take them to task. Because today we are talking about tea. Tomorrow we'll be talking about sugarcane, you know? And then I hope that one day we'll be talking about livestock, because that is what we pastoralists, you know, depend on. And I'm happy that my good friend, the whip, is looking at me as I talk here. It's because when we talk about some of the areas which are missing in this proposal of the BBI, it is that if you look at the shared prosperity, it stops on agriculture. We want livestock to be included because that's what Kenyans depend on. So this committee, Madam Speaker, has got to now sit down, invite governors, be able to carry out a proper audit in each county to know, Kericho County, how much tea do you produce? How much of that tea that you produce is sold locally, and how much of that tea is sold through auctions, so that we can be able to streamline this. The genius in that sector is amazing, Madam Speaker. In fact, Madam Speaker, I can today disclose that the companies, there's a company in Kericho that does not only packages the traditional tea, but he also packages a different kind of tea that helps us. It boosts your immune. This is courtesy of the governor of Kericho. So we've got all that ability. The problem is that it is not that we do not have laws, because if you read this constitution, if you read the laws that are out there, they have laid out everything properly on paper, but practically, is it actually achievable? So we go back to the Constitution. The framers of this Constitution thought it wisely to devolve agriculture because they knew that is what everybody in this country depend on. So what we need to do is to push for this implementation of these laws, implementation of the Constitution, because it is not that we do not have enough laws. It is just that we don't care, we come and lament. I listened to the good senator from Bungoma, the distinguished senator, Wetangula, talks about the DR, the deficit that farmers have. These are caused by brokers, people who go out there. Instead of farmers benefiting, the people who are now benefiting are the brokers. So by the time the farmers take their sugarcane to the factory, they do not have any credit left for them to be able to benefit. So really what we need to do is to sit down and say, the pieces of legislation that we pass in this house are defined to eliminate these brokers who have destroyed this tea sector. They are designed to eliminate these brokers who don't do anything. They sit in Nairobi or they sit in other parts of this country. And then when the people who voted for Senator Handiri are crying and pushing him to come to this house to be able to submit a proposal harvesting their tea, the brokers go there. And guess what? Our Kenyans, hard-working people, end up suffering. So, Madam Speaker, I hope that when this committee that you'll task to look into this very, very important statement has come up with, that Senator Handiri has come up with, they will be guided by what we are losing and what we can actually gain so that we improve the management of the tea sector in this country. Senator Mutula talked about companies outside this country, in Dubai, that are repackaging our tea. We are known. Maybe it's about time that we look at the role of the Kenya Tea Development Authority. Devolve it. See whether it can find a way to work. Maybe it's about time, Madam Speaker, that we now implement the warehousing receipt bill. All right, I think it's an act now that was already ascended to. So we look at the entire agricultural spectrum. We look at our economy, and we see how best it can be able to serve our people, how our people can be able to benefit, so that we can localize this thing. This business, Madam Speaker, or where we all sit here in this house, and the Senate is a defender of devolution, and we're always looking at the national government for all guidance, we'll not achieve anything. So, in conclusion, Madam Speaker, I think it is important that when this committee will sit down to try and figure out what ails this sector, they must also be able to carry out serious statistics. We have very good institutions in this country, Madam Speaker. The Kenya Bureau of Statistics can give you proper statistics on what each and every sector in this country produces. Let us talk about, when we talk about guarantee minimum returns, is the tea which is being sold in this country, Kenya, or rather maybe Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, the East African community, is it being maximized before we even look at the outside? And then the reform in a proper auction system, whether if we agree, another when this committee finds that the only way that we can achieve progress in this sector is if the entire tea which is produced is only sold through that auction and not sold anywhere else. Because when I travel, Madam Speaker, and I do travel quite a lot, you find that companies like Starbucks, they've got individuals who come and say, we would like to directly buy tea. We would like to directly buy coffee from you. You know, we even have other counties, like the county of Kirinyaga. We remember when we were there during the devolution conference, the governor of Kirinyaga talked about marketing her own coffee and tea directly to companies in the US. So really, when we talk about this, we must be driven by market forces, you know, the rule of supply and demand. Those are the things that will help us, but also keeping in mind that most of the land which is in this country, Madam Speaker, I'm just about to summarize. Yeah. If you look at, and Madam Speaker, I know you drive a lot to Eldoret. You never get a chance to go through Kiambu. Madam Speaker, I'd like to welcome you one day for a beautiful drive. You go through 2 rivers, you cut through Kiambu. On your way to Narok, you'll be mesmerized. You know, you will see how important this is. And then finally, when you go down there, you go to Kericho. I'm sure I don't need to take you there. But in terms of the ability for this country, for this sector, agriculture to be able to run this country is far more than what we can actually be able to account for. So in conclusion, I hope that even this committee will visit Narok, because even in Narok, we do produce tea. I thank you, Madam Speaker.